Welcome to Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. As we take a look at what's going to happen here at the midpoint of the week and into the weekend, there's actually a fair amount to be talking about, not only in the western United States, but across the USA over the next 7 to 10 days. Basically, it's going to continue to be warm. We're going to continue to see afternoon and evening thunderstorms. We did have some severe weather yesterday around Cheyenne and Torrington and Scottsbluff. We had some hail, some very heavy rain. We're going to see these garden variety thunderstorms with a few getting strong to severe popping up in some areas, especially front range areas of Colorado and Wyoming and into the plains and up into Yellowstone National Park and the higher mountain areas. Now, these thunderstorms will have the potential to produce heavy rain and hail like we saw yesterday and frequent lightning, so plan on that and be on the lookout for them. The coverage of thunderstorms won't be extensive, but the thunderstorms that do develop will have a tendency to pack a bit of a punch. Now, the coverage of thunderstorms goes up by Friday and into the weekend as a Pacific storm system moves east and towards us. Now, that same storm is going to come in, and boy, next week, folks, going to be a lot cooler. We have been really warm. We've been July warm this week, but we're going to cool off significantly next week. As we take a look at where we are now, this is the upper level pattern. We've got this low right here sitting off the California coast. We've got the high pressure ridge pumping in the warm air from the desert southwest. And then the other branch of the jet stream is more west to east, bringing milder Pacific air into the region. As we go forward, though, you're going to see some things change. Now, with this current pattern that we have now, this is going to lead to continued chances of afternoon and evening thunderstorms. This is your precipitation forecast through Friday afternoon. It looks a lot like the map I showed you yesterday. We have these front range afternoon and evening thunderstorms developing around Colorado, Wyoming, into western Nebraska, and also into western areas of Kansas. And then those head off to the east and northeast at night into the Dakotas and further into Nebraska. We're going to have some activity up around Yellowstone National Park and basically over near the mountains of Utah, Nevada, down into Arizona and New Mexico. Instability from the heat of the day going to lead to some hit and miss late day showers and thunderstorms. And this is the type of temperature pattern that we're going to have. Look how warm it is. Warm air is getting pushed out of the desert states and into the region. These are our temperatures relative to average for Friday afternoon, 10, 15, 20 degrees above normal. Notice, though, the green and the blue creeping into Southern California. That's because of that low that's going to be moving in. And that low is going to be giving us some changing weather. By the weekend, that low that's out here now merges with the upper level pattern, the upper level jet stream pattern coming into the Pacific Northwest, and we have this large trough of cool air aloft and moisture coming into the region. Here's Tropical Storm Cristobal, as we need to watch that moving into the Gulf, not for the western United States, but this is going to be a newsmaker this weekend into early next week along the Gulf Coast. This upper level low is going to bring cooler, wet weather to this area here beginning Friday night into Saturday morning. And then over the weekend, shower and thunderstorm activity will increase because of this trough, and here it is. Notice the red and yellow here back along the Wasatch Front of Utah, the western slope of Colorado that really needs it. Western and northwestern Wyoming and eastern Idaho that really need it. They're going to be getting into the rain and thunderstorms Friday night and into Saturday and Sunday, so good news for them. Also, we're going to see some pretty significant rain and thunderstorm activity here and even mountain snow across portions of the Pacific Northwest. And notice up here in the Dakotas, this is probably overdone, but getting wet up there up into the northern plains. Now, with this trough coming in and bringing cooler, wet weather our way, believe it or not, we're going to see snow levels dropping. Now, these are mountain snows, but notice that over the weekend and early next week, this is especially true as we get into probably Sunday and Monday nights. Well, snow levels are going to drop into the higher elevations of the mountains of Idaho, Oregon, Nevada, California, Utah, Wyoming, and even some of the higher mountains in northern Colorado could get into the act. So don't be surprised if you head over a mountain pass late in the weekend and early next week and see some flakes of snow. Hard to imagine after the heat that we've had this week, but it's only June 3rd. These Pacific troughs still come in this time of year and still produce this kind of weather. Look at temperatures by next Wednesday morning. Notice all the green and the blue and the purple. temperatures really cool off. This is how Mother Nature evens things out. Temperatures this week are sky high above normal. Then early to mid next week, they go well below normal. Then when you average the two out, you end up with, guess what? Near average temperatures so far the month. That's why you always have to be careful with averages and normals, because Mother Nature always evens things out, and this is a good example of that. Temperatures are going to be falling because that trough by Monday and Tuesday is right over the Intermountain West. Here comes that tropical storm moving in, so it could end up getting really wet and stormy in this part of the country next week. So there's a lot going on. Colder weather in the west, even some high elevation snow. Rain returns, which we need in many areas, and this tropical storm heads inland. As we go further, we'll see the weather pattern change. These are our temperatures relative to average on Tuesday. You see some purple in there. So next week is going to be off to a cool, wet start. It's not a bad thing, though. There are many of you that need rain, and this cooler, wet period is needed, even though it's going to make it a little uncomfortable and interrupt our summer pattern a bit. But by next Friday, here comes the warmth again. It returns. Don't worry, the cold is not going to stay. By next weekend, we warm up. As you can see, the warm air coming out of the Great Basin and the Pacific Northwest right back into the high plains and Rockies. And you can see why. Here's the trough that comes in next week. It heads to the Great Lakes, and then we've got a high pressure ridge building back in, brings back in that desert air again. And so by late next week and next weekend, we warm up again, although we're going to have to deal with this guy later. Thanks for watching and listening to the Day Weather Podcast. Have a great Wednesday.